Hi guys! So today is December 28th. It's that weird time now between Christmas and New Year's when nobody knows what the hell is going on. And I had my egg retrieval on Saturday. So it has been 2 days and I wanted to sit down and talk to you guys, update you on what happened over this past week, about the egg retrieval itself and my recovery, and what we know so far. So it's a lot. So the last time I made a video was just under a week ago, or just over a week ago. It was the Sunday before Christmas. So whatever that date was, I'll put it right here. And as of that day, I was filming an update about my stims and talking about my reactions to those. If you missed that video, definitely go and watch it. And my stim reactions were very much the same throughout the whole thing. As long as I was taking them, I was very lightheaded, I was exhausted, and I had very little appetite. But other than that, I knock on wood, I did not have bad reactions to the stims. So I'm really happy and really grateful for that. When they added in the Cetrotide, I did start getting redness and itchiness, which they said does happen with Cetrotide. They recommended to put ice packs or ice on the injection site. I only ever remembered to do that like an hour later, so I didn't do it. But if you did and it worked for you, let me know below. So yeah, as of my last video, they had me coming in on Tuesday, December 22nd for updated monitoring, so blood and ultrasound, thinking that I was probably going to have the egg retrieval itself on the 24th or the 25th, which was Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And at the time I was kind of upset about it, you know, because I have a 1-year-old and this is his Christmas, and that really, the thought of that really sucked for me. But thankfully, when I went in on the 22nd, my follicle count, I had 16 follicles of size, which is awesome. And I had few, which is 2 to 4 more on each ovary. And my estradiol levels were really good. But my estradiol and my progesterone, neither of them were high enough for me to be in whatever, like the LH surge or whatever, or ready for an LH surge. If you hear any whining, my dog is right over here. I'm sorry. My cats bother him. Anyway, so my levels were getting higher, but they were not high enough to do the Lupron trigger shot. So they actually called me on Tuesday and they were like, hey, so you're coming in for monitoring on Christmas Eve. So I went in on Christmas Eve and they told me that at that point I was probably going to be very ready to trigger, but we might have to do monitoring on Christmas Day. It depended on how the levels came back. At that point on Christmas Eve, I had 18 follicles of size plus the 2 to 4 more on each ovary. And my progesterone level had like tripled and my estradiol level was over 2,400. So they were super high and they were like, let's trigger, let's do it. So Christmas Eve night at 9 p.m. I did the Lupron trigger shot, and then it's 36 hours later that they do the egg retrieval. So Christmas Day, I was on no medication, and on the 26th we did retrieval. So I will say they did have me do an OPK, which is an ovulation predictor kit. They had me go to the drugstore and buy one. Try going to a drugstore on Christmas Eve. It's a madhouse. Anyway, so I did go and buy an ovulation predictor kit. I had to do that on Christmas morning to make sure that the Lupron shot had worked. It did. It was a positive meaning my body was naturally, or not naturally, medicationally having an LH surge, and that it was working and that I was ready. But I don't know about you, but I personally feel my ovulation. Like, I know when my body's ovulating because I do get ovulation cramping and sensitivity, I guess. And on Christmas Day, I was feeling it all day. I was feeling just a lot of bloating and discomfort and crampiness. And like, it was hard to bend down. It was not super fun. So I knew that it was working and that I was getting ready to ovulate. And honestly, because I'm a crazy person and I have anxiety and I worry a lot, I was super stressed. Like, what if it works too fast? And what if I start ovulating the eggs before the retrieval? All these things were going through my head. And I really psyched myself up and I got really nervous, and I did not sleep the night before the egg retrieval because I was so nervous that they weren't going to get any eggs. So they told me to be at the hospital by 8 o'clock. They said by 8 o'clock so I could come earlier. And I was there by 7:30. And I toted my 3-foot tall, 12-pound tank of sperm into the hospital wearing glasses because you can't wear contacts on the day of surgery, and a mask, and the glasses are falling down and I'm carrying that, and I was hilarious. Really, it was too funny for everyone else but me. But yeah, so I carried it in, and other than one, I don't know if she was a secretary or I don't know what her like official job title is, but the woman who was at the front desk and then brought me back, gave me a Johnny and told me that the nurse would be with me. So whatever that role is, she was really ill-informed and rude. She told me I was too early, even though they told me to be there by 8 o'clock, no later than. And she also told me, she was ill-informed in that she told me I had to strip completely down and put on the Johnny, and that the Johnny had to open in the front. And obviously, we've talked about this before, I'm plus size. They did not have a plus size Johnny. They did not have a plus size Johnny in the room, so she had to go get one. And she brought me back a Johnny that I thought had no sleeves, because at that point I was just confused and stressed, and it was actually that the sleeves were unbuttoned. So that was kind of a nightmare. So the nurse came in as I'm trying to figure out this Johnny, and I've got it kind of like draped around me like a sheet, and she's like, oh, it has sleeves, it's just not done up. It did not have a tie in the back. She forgot that. And she also forgot that, oh yeah, you can leave your bra on for this and you can do it in the back, like it opens in the back. And I explained to the nurse what she said, and she's like, yeah, no, she's wrong. We only do that for transfers. For egg retrieval, you know, it's only waist down stuff, so you can leave your bra on. Yeah. So at that point, I was really annoyed. I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty pissed. And I was stressed because I don't know about you again, but I've never had surgery by myself. And with COVID, like, my mom could not come into the hospital. And, you know, as I said, I was already very much in my head about how many eggs they were going to get and whether I had ovulated some away. And so I was very in my head. I was nervous and I was excited, and it was just a very like emotional thing for me. So they had me sign like consent forms. They told me what was going to happen, and they took me in right around 9 o'clock. They had me, they hooked me up to an IV. They had me empty my bladder, and then they had me walk into the OR. In this hospital, the fertility like unit has their own OR and their own prep space. So all the women in there were, all 6 of us, I think they said happened that day. All 6 of us were fertility patients getting egg retrieval that day, or transfers. I think it was all egg retrieval though, they said. So I went into the OR. They have you lay down, they have you put your legs in the stirrups, and they strap your legs in, and they had me take my mask off, put the oxygen on, and I guess it's what's called twilight sleep, and not like a true anesthesia with a thing down your throat, because they didn't give me anything to breathe with other than the mask. And they gave me an antibiotic as a preventative measure. They gave me a pain med as a like beat it kind of deal, and they gave me like whatever the anesthesia, like the twilight anesthesia was. And then I was out, and it was about 25 minutes, the egg retrieval procedure, and they wheeled me back to the same bay to wake up. They woke me up. I immediately asked how many we got. At that point, they didn't know. And I don't know if I'm just a weirdo, but if I was the person doing the retrieving, I would be like, oh, there's 1, 2, 3. Like, I would keep track as I was going. I don't know if you're in the medical field and you know why they didn't know, comment down below, but they didn't. After like 15 minutes, they did come over and tell me how many. But yeah, I just found that weird. And they also brought me back my tank. I didn't mention when I came in, they took the tank from me and took the sperm out. I did do ICSI. I think I talked about that in one of my other videos. And that's when they take individual sperm and mix them with individual eggs. And I guess that's supposed to have a higher success rate for donor sperm especially, or low sperm quality. My donor didn't have low quality, but obviously he is a donor, and I guess it's supposed to be better for that. I don't know. So to do the ICSI, they did shave my vial, which means they didn't thaw the whole vial of sperm. They shaved off individual sperms and they thawed those, and then they put them on the eggs and let that happen. So I have like half of that vial left, I think they said. What they didn't tell me, nobody mentioned this ahead of time. So this is where I'm really annoyed, and this inspired the fact that I'm going to do a video comparing fertility treatments with a private clinic and with a hospital and my thoughts. But in all the time I've been talking about doing egg retrieval, no medical professional has once said to me, oh, by the way, if we shave the vial of sperm, you can't have the vial back to go back to your sperm bank where you're already paying for 3 years of storage. I already paid thousands of dollars. I'm pretty sure it's in my The Cost of IUI video, how much I pay for storage, because I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm already paying that for the 2 vials that are sitting in storage. And I was under the impression that this half shaved vial was going back to be with the other 2. They told me after I got out of the egg retrieval, after they had shaved it and put him back in the freezer, and while I was still like pretty groggy, because I woke up, but you know, you've had anesthesia, they tell you not to make important decisions. So I was a little groggy. Then they put the form in front of me and have me sign the form for this donor sperm, that if I die, they can keep it and research with it, or they should throw it out. Like, I had to make that decision. And that after a year, I'll start paying storage for it. And no one ever told me the fee, by the way. They have yet to tell me the fee of storing this half vial of donor sperm. And I have a real problem with that. Like, I don't appreciate that no one told me that information, because honestly, I would have just thawed the whole vial. I don't think it's worth paying for storage in 2 separate places, and I don't think it's worth finagling the storage to save half a vial of sperm. That's just my opinion. You're definitely free to your own if you've done something similar. But yeah, I'm genuinely still sitting here 2 days later. I'm still upset that no one told me about this ahead of time. It's really obnoxious. But anyway, so they had me sign those forms, and then they had me call my mom. Honestly, as soon as I got out of surgery, I texted my mom and told her, you know, they're telling me like 10:30 you can come, so plan to be here around then. And apparently, according to her, no one at the hospital called her, even though they had asked me who my contact person was. So she was texting me at like 10:15 that she was out front, and they still hadn't gotten me out of bed. So I'm like, well, my mom's here. Can we get this moving? So at that point, one of the doctors came over and she told me how many eggs we had, and drum roll please. Sorry, that was really cheesy. So they retrieved 20 eggs, and I was really excited about that, knowing that on Christmas Eve I had had 18 of size. I was really excited that they had gotten 20 eggs in this retrieval. I was really excited about it, really positive for it. And obviously, me being who I am, I started mentally doing the math that I talked about in one of my egg retrieval videos, that you take like the 80% and then the 75% of that and whittle it down. So I've already mentally at that point done the math of how many embryos I'm ending up with at day 5. Day 5, okay? Remember that number. So they finally, at that point, they get me up, they get me walking, they bring my tank of donor sperm back, or they bring the tank that the donor sperm was in that I have to return to the cryobank, which I did today, by the way. They bring that back to me, they let me get dressed, and I take the tank and I go. And they tell me, we're gonna call you tomorrow. So apparently the day of egg retrieval is day 0 in terms of like the lifespan of these eggs/embryos. So egg retrieval day is day 0. They call you on day 1, which is the next day, to tell you how many eggs became embryos. So that was a really long, like 36 hours. It wasn't 36 hours, but it was a long time. It took them forever to call me. So they called me on Sunday, 27th, yesterday, and they told me that out of the 20 eggs they retrieved, 15 of them were mature, which is 75%, so it's a little bit lower than the math I told you guys. The math I said was like 80%, so I had 75% that were good, mature enough to be inseminated. And out of those 15, 13 of them are embryos, which is 87% of them, which is much higher than the 75% I told you guys in the original math. So as of today, still, I have 13 embryos that have to get to day 5. You know, definitely not all 13 of them are going to make it that far. And that's a really weird feeling for me. So I think I've talked about this before. It's weird for me to be talking so nonchalantly about the fact that out of 13 embryos, we're going to lose some. Just because to me, they are my babies, and they're just as much my babies as Harry. So that's a really weird thing. But when they called me yesterday and told me there were 13, I said, so day 5 is going to be the 31st. It's going to be this Thursday. So you'll call me back then with the number, and I can pay for each of them to be tested, because there's a fee. I am going to talk about my cost of IVF in another video, but basically you pay one lab fee for the PGTA testing, and then per embryo you pay a certain amount. So they don't tell you how much that is, of course, until you get to day 5 and you know how many embryos there are. And the doctor said, oh no, we're not calling you on day 5. We're going to call you on day 6 or 7. And I said, okay, but how then am I supposed to pay for this before the end of the year? Because it's also, I talked about this, I'm pretty sure, in my cost of IUI video, that if you spend a certain percentage of your income on fertility treatments, you can write it off in your taxes. And because I had this done before the end of the year, I had very much planned on writing that cost off in my taxes. And he says to me, oh no, we're not taking them to day 5. We're taking them to day 6 or 7. And we're going to call you on like January 2nd, January 3rd. And they're going to go to the lab at that point, and we'll give you the price at that point. So another thing that they have not communicated well with me, and another thing that I'm a little upset about, and I don't know, that's also stressful for me just because I'm waiting longer to hear about them, and I haven't done enough research on going to day 6 or 7 to know whether we're getting higher quality at that point or lower quality. So if you do have any information, articles, videos, or anything that you think would be helpful in my research, definitely leave them down below, because I definitely want to look more into whether day 6/7 is better than day 5. But that's kind of where we're at as of right now. As far as I know, there are still 13 embryos sitting in an incubator, getting more human, getting bigger and more human every day. But yeah, I think because this video is so long, I am going to talk about my IUI recovery separately. So be on the lookout for that. I'm probably honestly just going to film it as soon as I end this video, but I do think they're kind of two separate ideas, because this is more an update, and then I know myself, I've watched a ton of IUI recovery and how you feel afterwards kind of videos. But if you do follow me on Instagram, which you should, it's at Mama Maria YT. You do know that I was napping after my egg retrieval because I felt like, I think I said my uterus was hit by a semi-truck. So that should tell you something. Other than that, I will definitely keep you guys updated when I hear more about my babies. It's very weird. I was saying to my mom yesterday, now I have 14 people to worry about, because I have Harry and all 13 of his brothers and sisters. So weird. All right, guys. So I will talk to you soon. Bye.